Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Zahn Academy. In case you don't know me, I'm Fran, and I'm Zahn's Education Manager. And back for another lecture is Dan Marrano, CDT, and the owner of Marrano Dental Arts. And today we're going to be speaking about exocad versus 3Shape. Why can't both win? So I just want to let you all know that we, again, want you to be interactive with us. We're going to be launching a couple of poll questions because we want to see where you're at in the design software world. And so if you don't mind just answering those questions when they, come up so I can give Dan all of the results. And we will have a live Q&A at the end of the presentation. So Dan, I want to thank you so much for joining us again here in Zahn Academy. And I'm going to turn this over to Dan.
Hi, thanks for having me again, and I can't wait to get into this. It's something I've been into for a couple years now, and I really enjoy both of this. So let's get started. So when I think about this, I think about a digital toolbox, and when we first started, in the beginning of the year. Um, We did 3D printing in May last year, and that was one part of the digital toolbox. And then we did CAM, Hyperdent, and Millbox in October. And now we have 3Shape and exocad, kind of wrapping up the digital toolbox. And when I think about why we invest in, maybe two different systems, it's to increase efficiency and effectiveness. I think of it as like you don't have one porcelain brush. Maybe you don't have one carver or one burr. You have multiple tools in your toolbox, and I really don't look at this any differently. I think we save manufacturing costs, increase productivity, we stay competitive by doing both of those. And when I think about adding multiple digital features like Millbox, Hyperdent, 3Shape, exocad, especially 3Shape and exocad has been so polarizing over the years. Which one's better? Who thinks this is better? This one's better than that. This one doesn't do that. So when you add them both, you kind of avoid the chaos and stress from a complete switchover. I think it was my brother that said not too long ago when they said, "Do you guys use exocad, or why don't you switch to exocad?" And he said, in a large entity, could you imagine dumping this on my team? We would have a mutiny. So, um, you can roll in both, whether you're one way or the other, and still, um, get through a easy day without having people bicker about switching.
Dan, I
Um,
have the results for you if you'd like.
oh, okay, yeah,
Uh,
sure.
so far, 69% of our attendees are 3Shape users and 31% are exocad users. So just so that you know,
Oh, great.
in there.
So like I said, 3Shape and exocad have been so polarizing. It's the mortal combat of digital tools, and we don't really have to battle it out this way. We can all kind of friend each other and get along. Let's find a common ground, and that's what I set out to do a few years ago. Um, I put this up here for license and modules. Not that I'm going to go through this. You see, there's so many checkbox and different options. And same thing with exocad. There's flex license, opting in, and different things like that. There's so many options for indications and budgets. If you're looking at this like, well, I have 3Shape. How am I going to budget for exocad or vice versa? There's different ways you can get in there. There are some myths in licensing and stuff like that that, basically speak to your rep, find what best options for you. Like I said, there's perpetual flex. You can network dongles and 3-second seats. Budgeting in the future. Try not to be short-sighted. I have done it to myself a couple times where I thought, well, I'm just going to dip my toes in there, and then I wanted to upgrade. Fortunately, both of them have been very generous at any year upgrade your licenses. So I have actually gotten lucky a couple times on short sighting myself. PC specs, I bring this up. I talked about it in October with Millbox and Hyperdent. I was a certified computer technician before dental technician, so I do still kind of geek out on this stuff, even though the times have passed us by a little bit. but I put it up there because I do see a lot of people bringing it up, and um, just the thought of how much to spend on a computer. exocad generally is considered to be a little bit quicker. I had an old 4 series i7 that ran version 3.0 on just fine, never even knew. Um, and then 3Shape, and we were upgrading our computer. Well, here's I jumped ahead of myself. Here was the slide I showed in October about a simple computer upgrade, and can you really afford that much time loss in your day? And here was some times that we just did. We just upgraded our computers in the lab, and we started getting a little in depth with this, and taking this a little bit further than it was probably needed. But we ran some auto redesigns in some cases, and here's some of the times, and I'll show you a graph in a minute. But to mention like the resources that these use, that arrow there is pointing to the cam computer that we upgraded to. And when the cam starts to calculate that thing, all the fans kick on. It sounds like a rocket ship taking off. We really didn't see that at all running through the 3Shape. It just doesn't use the resources quite the same. And kind of the same thing with exocad, but generally the process you see here, this is a redesign of a hybrid wax up. Um, it took 26 seconds. I even went back a step to make it seem like it didn't take. It's really quick. It jumps to the end. So here are those specs from a 10 series, 11 series, 13, 14, and then adding some different video cards in there. You kind of generally see the performance tapers off as you increase. And someone recently put online, are you going to get the best computer you could possibly get? You're going to future-proof yourself. Well, NVIDIA and everybody else has bigger and better ideas than that. They just came out with 5 series cards. I kind of leaning towards, as I did this, is a waste of resources. A lot of these computers are taking a lot more wattage and amps and draw on your electrical. So you got to keep that in mind maybe as you're plugging all this stuff in. And here's a computer. We took a 14 series and started adding pieces to show you the benefits as we went across. And as we got all the way, you could see it kind of teetered off, all the way up to we got this supercomputer liquid cooled. Didn't really benefit any more than the upgraded HP we had. So, and another thing, if you're in a new to PC and the huge price tags, you see these are three, four, $5,000 computers. I mentioned this because don't stop it from upgrading. The 10 series that I had, i7, is so much slower now. I can't even go back to it and think about it just like 2 weeks ago, now that I'm on something more newer. And it was a little bit of worrisome in upgrading and the costs and stuff like that, but you won't really have to get crazy, buy something that's affordable, just get up there. And I put this on here just where I think maybe an affordable sweet spot is, low $1,000 range. You can get into both of these. And Fran had mentioned the fear of upgrading when we were reviewing this, and I just thought I'd mention this too. I had it as well. I always take my old computer, I hook up one of these switches, and I kind of keep them both going at the same time. That way, if you're ever concerned about pulling some data over, you always have that. You can just switch back and forth real quickly. And back to, the actual software here. Both these have new updates. Most of the presentation was done in 2023 3Shape. exocad 3.2 has some new features out. These are the QR codes to take you to their pages to show their updates. And some of the updates are with AI design, especially in exocad with the feature release. 3Shape's had it for a little bit of time, and their True Smile, that looks pretty fun. I haven't had a chance to try it yet, but I'm definitely going to dive into that. I wanted to mention kind of our thoughts in the lab as 3Shape and exocad. And, this is This is just our lab. Other people might think opposite, one's easier than the other, um, but we generally think 3Shape is easier to navigate and get through, but exocad has that greater flexibility and versatility. And that is what drew me to it. I kind of got tired of getting stuck in it. And I just really like two options for anything so that you can always get through it. And we'll go through some of that. One of the learning is some of the nomenclature between the two. You will get used to it. They do start calling some things a little bit differently. This list can keep going, but there's just a few examples. So when we jump into like general crown or bridge design, you're going to be fine with either one. They're both highly capable. exocad again has some better integrations than 3Shape, like margin carryover. This is a Medit scan that the doctor marked the margin. And 3Shape now in the PLY, it does give us a nice grid line that we can just trace over the top, so we're not kind of looking back and forth. In an exocad, it actually brings the margin over. And there are some other scanners that will integrate that margin directly into your case a little bit better in exocad than 3Shape, which is kind of nice. Design tools, both highly capable design tools. And 3Shape, you have the Sculpt and Morph, exocad, you have freeforming. I like the super power smooth, I call it. You hold the shift down and you smooth, and it gets you some extra juice in that smoothing tool. And paint and pull, I love the paint and pull. We'll show some paint and pull later. Um, in that anatomic free-forming is pretty nice as well when you're working on a wax up and you don't have individual um, movement of each tooth. The anatomic free-forming exocad tends to be able to move things around a little bit nicer because it gives you the different options of like how it grabs on. Here's some more design tools. In 3Shape, we have transformation, and I got a little video here. I do like the global transformation. It does work, nicely with the arrows and scaling back and forth. You kind of get the an arch into place. And this little tool works that side will work pretty good. This side, maybe not so much. Doesn't really scale. And I think that's where exocad's chain tool is really off the chain. I like to say that because, another video would kind of get it into place. And if anyone's not really familiar with the chain tool, it gives these little dots and you can lock the teeth into position so those teeth don't move as you kind of drag it around. And as you're moving it around, it kind of rescales as you're going. Um, really nice for hybrid design. I generally, get the arch into place with the midline, and then I lock my centrals, and then move around from there. Back in the posterior design, we can click them on, we can click them off. This is just real quick for a demo for you guys to show you how it works. But especially if you have an opposing that's not as ideal, this seems to work really well. Digital models, there's no secret that 3Shape is kind of particular in model builder at times. Over the years, it's gotten a little bit better, and exocad is a little versatile. These are both models. One was from Itero, one was a Beltec core file that the team just had trouble making in model builder. And when it comes to models, I have a belief it's not a money maker, but they're necessary. We're not going to sit there. I don't want to lose money on models. Um, so spend a few minutes on it and then we're moving on, get it into exocad and fix it up. And both of these we're able to run right through. Abutment design. We do a lot of digital implants now, and we generally lean in the lab towards 3Shape. We do most of our design and abutments in 3Shape, but as you can see, exocad does it just as well. One way or another, I do like some of the tools in 3Shape. Just I've become more familiar with them over the years. Um, Denture design. We didn't do our denture design in 3Shape. That primarily started because we're not a removable lab, and we started dipping our toes into some denture. We can talk about that a little bit in the next slide. Um, but we had the module already, so we went with it. It does work really well. We do like it. We really don't have any complaints except over the years they've kind of complained that working through it is slow. And supposedly in 3Shape 2024 they have improved that. Um, since we don't do it, we're not a removable lab. I don't have a lot of exocad denture experience, but Dan last week gave a really nice lecture on dentures and RPDs as well. He touched on that. We do even less RPDs than we do complete dentures. So pretty much our RPDs come into flippers, or in this case, this was kind of a try-in that the doctor patient wanted to see what it would look like if they got some implants. So just put an attachment on it, and then the doctor's actually going to pick that up with some temp stoners after he places the implants and cut all um, that connector off. So things like that. We don't do full removables in our lab or partials. So when we mention removable design, it's a value-added service for us as a fixed lab. It's a way we can add product solutions for our clients. Definitely convenience. The flippers started more because I hadn't done a digital flipper, and it was about a year ago. Somebody said, "Well, patient's having heart surgery. Can you get this back with the crown so he can have his flipper before he goes to have his heart surgery?" And so we were able to accommodate them for that. And when it comes to complete dentures, you can dictate the design. There's a lot of times these hybrid cases, they'll get a denture and you'll go and you'll see they got second molars. And then you got to disappoint them and tell them, well, you can't have your second molars because the implants aren't far enough back, or, your EP spread's not enough to support that, whatever it is. So you can dictate contour and number of teeth. And I look at it as an advanced opportunity to test out your design. When we do these dentures, the patient can tell you whether they hate it or love the contours, and then you can copy them into your hybrid later. So that's a nice feature. So starts our integration. Um, you know, I was when I had exocad and I had my training, it was hard to I had a lot of false information kind of being thrown at me. That we're so much better this way, so much better that way. And it was kind of antiquated. So I was having trouble figuring out how I was going to bridge the gap. I never planned on really getting rid of both. So I needed to figure out how I was going to integrate them both. Um, I see great value in having both. So one of the first ways was misaligned prep scans. Generally in 3Shape, you have to go back to the prep. So if you got a floating prep over here, and the bite was taken with the pre-op, that can be a couple orders. I've seen people make 2, 3 fake orders in exocad, or sorry, in 3Shape, where I use the exocad dental CAD app. I know they have a kind of like a viewer as well that you can do some alignment in. Um, but here's how I would do, and this is actually a real time. I'll just drag it over. You can quick pick a tooth, so it is kind of a fake order, and just jump into expert mode. And you don't see off the screen. I have a two monitor here, so I'm dragging. You just drag the scans in as you need them. So there's that pre-op with the posing, and we drag the prep in, and then we go to alignment. Kind of rotate it in a little bit better position. And so for this one, you do have point alignment, and you're not stuck to 3 points. You could pick a bunch more if you need to. Here I generally do two, and then the painter tool, which has been fantastic. That was one of the biggest advantages I found in exocad to date. I know 3Shape just recently added their painter tool as well. But that was a game changer for us for many years, is having that painter app. So then as you look at it, your prep is now aligned on top of your pre-op, and then you can export those scans in alignment. So you can bring in PLYs, you can bring in STLs, you can bring in DCMs even. You do have to be careful with the DCMs because they do flip if you plan on getting them in and out. So I generally work in the PLY and DCM. OptiSplint. This case, I actually don't know. Well, I think I could have done it in 3Shape. I just don't know how many steps it would have taken. Whoever's familiar with OptiSplint is the OptiSplint aligns back to the healing cap, but this doctor took MIS healing caps for a tissue scan. So um, generally, you would go one for one if you used OptiSplint caps, but he did not. So this is not a direct alignment. So I brought, oh, we got some audio there. Oop. Oh, hang on here, guys. Sorry. Sorry about that. There we go. I brought the OptiSplint in first, and in the exocad OptiSplint library, there's a folder with a bunch of healing caps, and it has these kind of combo caps, and you can go in there and align each one of these individually. I did slow this down. I had it even faster before, and I realized it's kind of important to see here. Now, some of these, like that one and maybe this one, I probably would have spent a little bit more time aligning if I was doing this live. Um, for the demo for this, I just really quick went through. And now you have your new healing capped OptiSplint file where you can save that. And then you go back to the tissue scan. You bring that new saved file in, and you would then align the healing caps, the MIS healing cap file. And then you bring your OptiSplint back in. And now you realign your OptiSplint to that healing cap file that you had created. So now you sit right on top, and that now you can see there, if you saw it real quick there, why you couldn't do a one-for-one direct, because these are sitting a little bit higher, actually. The MIS healing caps are a little bit shorter. But now you can see real quick. I mean, I think the actual time on that video was about 2 minutes. You would have been dragging all those in through additional scans in 3Shape. And we do turnarounds in about an hour on our surgery. So I don't really want to be spending 15 minutes aligning a case. I want that done and over with and move on to my design. More seamless integration, and I was using this for a while, and this is how I was getting in and out of 3Shape and exocad. You can save your additional scans while you're in your design of 3Shape as an STL or PLY, and then bring them into exocad. So for example, facial scans. Now, for years, we haven't done facial scans. Some people love them, some people don't. I think a well-trained technician can get through with the picture, even if it doesn't align. But I have found that they're kind of nice to have. Um, in this case, we saved our pre-op, brought it back into exocad, and then we brought that facial scan PLY in exocad. We aligned the teeth. I used the painter and I painted the teeth that I showed in the earlier alignment. And then you see we're aligned, and you can re-export that face then as a PLY and then re-import it back into additional scans. Now, again, I know 2024 has implemented facial scans. But if you're not on 2024, or maybe you're opted out in an old version, this is an easy way to get in and out. And who knows, maybe we'll still be using this even if 2024, just because it's so simple. Design sharing. And over the years, 3Shape Communicate has had design sharing. Um, and maybe some of you are familiar with it. You can send your design to the doctors. It comes in as like a low resolution. Doctors who don't have a trios typically are apprehensive to signing up for a Communicate account, even though it's free. They added the web preview link. I had some glitches with that. So some of my doctors who were doing surgeries with really wanted to see, and I got tired of sending them screenshots and them asking me for a different view, or I see this view or that view. So I started using exocad web view, but I integrated with 3Shape. So here's a quick 3 times speed um, of this design where we go in and we would take the additional scans and start saving the pieces out. Now I saved this facial scan as an STL there first. You'll see. I'll go back and save it as a PLY because when you bring a facial scan as an STL, the black and white kind of looks like a Cabbage Patch doll or something. Um, it's not very nice without the color. So you start saving all the different pieces. There I go back saving it as a PLY. Um, there's the teeth, the upper, the lower, saving them all out, saving them with the pre-ops, and just naming them anything. And then we drag them in to exocad CAD app. You can do upper, lower, opposing. And then there's our face and all our scans turned on. Export the view for you copy the link, send the link to the doctor, and then they got all their stuff, all their scans, all your design in a really nice view. You can change the colors. We had a patient who was really particular, wanted to see different things. So I was saving new designs as different colors. Really nice feature. Has been really appreciated by the doctors and very easy to get in and out of. It just took, I don't know, 30 seconds to drag all that stuff back in there. So
Hey, Dan, is it
yeah,
okay if we launch
sure. Go ahead.
another just to see who struggles with scan alignments? So you can comment on that one.
I'm gonna click yes.
Oh, so far, we're kind of like, wow, it goes between like 50-50 to, wow, it seems that there's a lot of people who struggle with scan alignment.
Yeah. And as I talk to a lot of colleagues and we look at crown and bridge design and stuff like that, we spend a lot of our time now in kind of data management and um, alignments are kind of an unappreciated aspect that can really hurt your business by spending too much time. Or if it's misaligned, then it's causing a possible remake. So for pretty much since I figured out how to integrate in and out of 3Shape and exocad, I've used exocad for all the alignments, especially the surgery alignments. Now again, 2024 added some nice features, but it's still under the same premise of getting back to the prep model where I don't want to have to reopen a case and start aligning surgery pieces. I already did that design in my hybrid, 2 days ago. I'm not reopening that case again. When I start receiving my surgery. Digital implant bridge wax up copy. For some of you who know in 3Shape, you have to kind of create a fake order. You have to do a digital impression order first to get your implant position. And this is sped up. The actual time took just over 5 minutes. Which isn't too bad. I was actually surprised. Thought it would take a little bit more. But then from that order, you need to copy the MB preparation, which is now integrated your implant coordinates and create a model order because digital impression won't take it won't take a wax up. You have to be in a model. So now that our implant coordinates are there, we can go through, connect the pieces, and this is just our demo bridge. Do some angled screw channels and done. Um, it's not as straightforward if you know the trick of the fake order. It works well. Some people still like to do that. In exocad, it's pretty simple. Purists will see I just only clicked on 5 teeth for 5 implants, and some implant purists may not appreciate that. Um, I've been told not to do that, but if I am just trying to fly through a wax up, I still do it, and it's about half the time. You do your screw angled screw channels in the beginning of the design versus the end, and then that was it. It's pretty quick and straightforward. So if I am in a hurry, we had a doctor who ran really late on a surgery. I ran through that. And the only thing you got to keep an eye on is that you have both your libraries all with scan bodies that you're good to use for your implants. Implant bridge library change. So I see a lot of people talking about how much they hate changing libraries. Well, the doctor, I did my design, I got to the end, I needed to change the library, and then when I went back in, my design was destroyed. I do not change the libraries. Even if I realize midway I made a mistake, I still run that case through. And then I would create that wax up copy order and then run through with the new library with an MUA, multi-unit abutment type hybrid case like this. All the horizontal or all the vertical would be the same, and there is no horizontal. There's no hex. It's just the cone, so you don't have to worry about any hex misfit. Um, and so it just really. I'll force myself to finish the design and then just go back through if I realize the change. And you could do that for changing from, say, you did an MUA temporary try-in, and then you want to go to the desk full arch screw. I would do the same thing. Don't change my order, run back through with the wax up. I saved the wax up at the end, the finalized step, right before you put the screw holes through it. It will leave holes in the bottom, but when you go back through, you just draw your lines around there, your emergence lines around there, and it's completely fine. In exocad, changing the library is a little bit different. You can just see it just jumps right to the end. Super quick and easy. And then you click on each analog and then you can change the library that way. And then just reattach it. It is fast. It is easy. You have to make sure that your libraries are compatible with each other. Some of them will be rotated 90 degrees. If not, if you don't have that problem, then you're fine. Just run it through. Nice and easy. Implant bridge recovery. This is a big one. A lot of complaints over the years. The picture on the left I saved from Facebook. The picture on the right actually happened to me. I was using Easy Gum off of my wax up, and I was trying to extend the pterygoid extension back, and it just would not happen. And I spent a little time on it, and it just wasn't worth my time. I then saved at that point. It is one piece, so you can save it there. And then quickly, I had my prep already aligned, or I had my scan body already aligned to my tissue scan. I now have my wax up. I saved as an STL, so it's already aligned. Nothing changes if we go in and out of the two in STL. Align my scan bodies, and it's pretty much just a next, 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 next at that point. Um, I had cases like this over the years who just foul out an assembly stage or whatever it is, and then I just bring them in the exocad and quickly run it through. That was like the longest you'll ever see exocad run in my view. Here's the super smooth. And for sake of demo and time, I probably would have spent a little bit more time on this, but just wanted to get it cleaned up just quickly to show you some of the tools and how easy it is. And there you go. That would be your wax up that you're stuck. So again, I don't try to be a hero. They're waiting for this. I'm not going to try to save it. I'm just going to get back and actually get a run through as fast as I can. And in 3, 4, 5 minutes, you're done. Gingival scan repair. How many people hate this? Oh, this is going on forever. This is not mine. I took this off of Facebook again, but I can show you a case here where Well, I'll show you what would happen, but how many people would know what to do with this? I I am not going to tell the doctor to rescan this. This is a surgery scan with three zygos, two pterygoids, transnasal, whatever else he put up there. He's had a long day. I'm not about to tell him, you need to go take me a new tissue scan. This scan is not even closed up. It's still open, as you can see. Um, so I'm going to show you what would happen if we tried to draw a tissue on this. And many of you are familiar with this, whether you got a power chain or something in the scan. Um, and we go and we try to design these in 3Shape, even refining it. It actually did a really good job and to smooth some of the rough spots out. We align our scan bodies in our libraries. Then we get to there's our design. We get to the tissue and carefully trace this around so we're not in any holes or anything like that, and it still airs out. So what do we do? I'm going to bring this into um, exocad, and I quickly realize how many holes are in this. So I'm not even going to bother trying to fill these holes. I just create myself a nice, clean canvas. Smooth canvas. I'm going to use, this is the paint and pull tool, and smooth the whole thing out. It doesn't matter what that tissue looks like. We're not even using it for the surgery anyways, because he didn't even suture to show us where the tissue was. We're just going to get ourselves a nice clean spot. I make sure I bring the scan bodies in just to make sure I'm a little bit further out than it was. And you see, and I'll show you in another one next, I'm kind of rotating that in exocad to see any kind of sparkles. And when I see the sparkle, that's an artifact kind of hanging there, and I'll cut it out. But as you see, now we have a nice blank canvas. I do bring the original one in as a pre-op, and you'll see here, but now our tissue works. Same case, there's our pre-op, so that we can see just in case we need to know if there is anything. We don't want to put any additional pressure on any areas. So real quick, super saver. Any surgery case, any messy scan that I know I'm going to be drawing tissue on, I bring it right into exocad. I just clean it up, 2 minutes, and you're back to working. How many people have spent 15, 20 minutes, an hour, not even able to maybe fix it? Or you get this crazy gingival design that you're sculpting for a long time. None of that if you clean them up first. And here's one. I slowed this one down. You see there's artifacts there. As you kind of rotate, you'll see they kind of glisten. As I did the super power smoother here, I realized that it's actually a huge hole right there. Again, I'm not asking anybody to rescan this stuff. During a surgery, they spend 2, 3, 4, 5 hours in a complicated surgery. No way am I asking them to rescan this. And you see these little marks here, they'll mess up your tissue. Um, and just cut them out, fill in a hole. And just as easy as that, we're cleaned up and we're ready to put tissue on that. Implant bridge cantilever. Your cantilever is too long. Maybe you have a wax up. So I saved the design in 3Shape as an STL. And I don't know, I've never seen anyone do this. Maybe I'm just being a wild man. But I have gotten some cases that maybe were started elsewhere. Maybe it was a denture that we were converting and they don't want to change anything. One of the things that I think is important that when people have something in their mouth that they like, don't change it. Don't try to redesign it. I've gotten a couple cases over the years um, that labs have tried to redesign and the patient absolutely hated it. And they say, here was the wax up. What can you do for me? So I cut the extra tooth out. And then I need 3 copies of this. So I save 2 more copies. And then I bring them back in and then I start deleting the extra pieces. So now we have 3 separate individual pieces where I can then um, pull and close that cantilever. And in this particular case, I think they lost a pterygoid. They weren't going to use that anymore, so we couldn't be that far back. Just cleaning up, I saw a little piece hanging there. We'll cut the pterygoid extension off. Same thing here. Close the holes. Now we have 3 pieces. Now we have to save those 3 pieces. So save each molar, save that front section. We do go to Mesh Mixer. And I'm going to put these 3 pieces together in Mesh Mixer to make one. You can't just save them as one. A wax up copy won't take that. So you do the Boolean union. This one gave me a little bit of trouble. Instead of going back, I did notice that it was just a little bit of smoothing. Just cleaned up the edge on that thing. It took it, accepted it. And now we have a 1-piece wax up again that we can take back out of from 3Shape to exocad to Mesh Mixer, and however you choose to go back to finish it at this point, we're going to finish it here back in 3Shape, the wax up tool, wax up copy. This has been really useful, especially with converting dentures that they don't want to change, or uh, maybe a design that I don't have anymore, or say, I don't know, you're trying to reopen a design and it just, you lost your design, whatever reason. Everyone here can think of a number of reasons why. So now there we are. We just do our nice wide circle. You could have probably cleaned this up a little bit better. Again, for the demo, I was just doing it real quick. And if they were 3 individual pieces, it would cut it out or error out. Now you can see it's one connected piece. We just clean up that area. We didn't have to touch anything else. They all have the same aesthetics they love, and we're done. It's a really nice feature. We use it a little bit here, probably, a couple times a month, possibly. Verifications, I figured I mentioned this is how we make our verifications. Just in bridge module, we can't talk hybrid without verification. So we just run through bar module, not bridge module, bar module. And I actually do our jigs a little bit differently now. I saw Marcus Blatt's post. They do them in metal or zirconia. I do them in a printable material to secure it really well. And do the opposite. How many people have had their jigs? They've broken because they're Dr. Luted together. Now we do the opposite. We actually fill them in from the outside. We haven't had one broken. The passivity seems to be better since they're not luting sections together and they're just filling in holes. Works really well. And someone recently posted, how do I make a verification? All they had was a tissue scan with MUA heads on it. All you do is the same thing, and just run it through as a model instead of implant and just cut a bunch of holes in a bar. Works really well. Here's one of the integrations and exocad is good at. I know they both integrate with ModJaw now, exocad and 3Shape, but now Bite Finder, we use Bite Finder a bit here. Where if you get, it's an AI bite finder, and then they now have AI jaw motion. If you drop them both in there, it will analyze the jaw motion, and you can save that and bring that into your exocad case to check your excursions. There's some information on their website, but I just think that's really nice, and that it integrates with exocad is another reason. Another advantage you have in using that, and maybe trying to bring, if you're going back and forth between designs, maybe trying to bring in that jaw motion with a wax up that maybe you created in 3Shape. So let's keep that in mind as something. And here's a tip I showed with the in the milling webinar we did. Always make sure you have your generated files, cam generated files, nice in exocad. It's already in a construction info file. In 3Shape, you'll just check these boxes. But it's important. I don't feel like you can, mention CAD without mentioning CAM, because if you can't mill it, what's the point of designing it? And that's our webinar, 3Shape and exocad. And again, I really think it's important that we try to bridge this gap, integrate them both. Your lab will be much more efficient and productive for it. it's really been a nice thing for us. And it has options. Some people think one's easier than the other, and different things like that. Really find your techs will probably enjoy learning a new software and being able to implement it when they have struggles with one of the others.
Absolutely. I thank you so much for this and for opening up your lab and your best practices to, our Zon community. Really, thank you. Thank you so much, Dan. It was a great webinar and I'm sure we're going to get some great feedback from this. I just want to let everybody know that Dan will be joining us this year as a lecturer at Chicago Lab Day. And he will be joining us on Saturday, February 22nd, in our table clinic area from 9 to 10. And he'll be discussing hyperdent. So it's going to be really nice to have him with us. And we really encourage everybody who's planning on joining us at Grand Ballroom, E and F, to go online to LMT and register because it is limited seating in the ballrooms. We also have a tremendous amount of glass classroom lectures as well as table clinics going on all 3 days. So please take a look and register and join us. We would really love to have you. I want to let you know again what's happening here on Zon Academy coming up. January 29th, we have a Tale of Two Colors with Dr. Bruce McDonald, and he's going to be going over, different types of workflows for milling dentures with IMES iCore as a feature. He only uses IMES iCore, and it's pretty cool, the different type of workflows that he's going to be bringing to the table. So that is January 29th. On February 5th, we have Learning Locators from overdenture to fixed, featuring Zest with Amy Hellelil. On 212, we have new innovation in taking precise shades with the Borea scanner. That one will be coming up onto the Zon Academy website within about a week. And I suggest highly, if you have problems with remakes because of shades, please let us know and join us for that webinar. And on 212, again, so we have something in the day and then something in the evening. An evening with Zon for a special time from 7 to 8 p.m. And that's the missing piece in automation. We're going to be discussing with you the auto finish, finishing and polishing machine. And that's going to be with myself, Travis Iverson, who is the CEO of Iverson Biomedical, and our very own GM and Vice President, and that's Mark Palmer. So he'll be joining us. So that's going to be a really, really great lecture again from 7 to 8 p.m. So I really hope everybody gets on to Zon Academy and registers with us. We do have some questions, Dan. So I'm going to pull those up. Oh, we have Ernie telling us that this was really good information. So thank you so much, Ernie. Thank you for commenting on that. And
Thank
then
you.
we have Jared, and he wants to know if you can put up the slide of PC specs again and CAM calculation for us.
Oh, sure. Let me go back.
He wants to see that slide really quick again, if you wouldn't mind.
PC specs, the big thing. Everyone's talking about it now.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
um, that was the cam one we had,
You want
but
to take a picture of that,
yeah,
Jared? And this one here, if you want to take a picture, that's totally fine.
you can kind of see where the gains start to kind of fizzle out. You can find yourself somewhere in between there. And Fran, like I said, she was like, everybody's afraid to upgrade. Um, I used that switch. I upgraded, put my one computer over to the side, plugged them both into the switch, and then I switch back and forth if I need it. I'm always afraid of losing something. You never days with the cloud and saving everything in the cloud and stuff like that. It doesn't seem like you ever end up losing anything, but
I know it's just a fear that we all have,
yeah,
same
yeah.
thing with me. I'm like, oh, I don't want to shut my computer down because I have this and that open. It's like, oh, got to get over the fear, right? And you have to change with the times and you got to upgrade. I mean, I'm the worst. I never upgrade my phone. I have the fear too. It's crazy. And Jared said he's got it. Thank you so much. Any other questions for Dan? Well, again, I want to thank you all for joining us here at Zahn Academy. We love hearing from all of you, so please, answer that survey at the end. We look at it, and for those of you that know, I call to thank you a lot of the time. So if you have any questions, please don't ever hesitate to email us, give us a call. Dan, I thank you so much for joining us again here at Zahn Academy. You are priceless, and we just appreciate you. And you opening up, like I said before, your laboratory to all of the Zahn community. And we look forward to seeing you at Lab Day Chicago. So I want to thank everybody. Hope you have a great day.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.